You have to call them. She must have pressed the button. She pressed the button.
Since
This week.
Oh.
They still haven't got it down.
Can't.
I like the budget.
Hey now.
She's not just teasing. Just teasing.
Hey now.
There's our quarters.
Anthony sees our instance.
Let's not live in the past.
You guys might want to shut that blind behind you too, because Blaine has a hard time seeing it. Hello, hello?
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
That's okay. Anything else in section 1? Director Turner? No. Okay. Section 2. We're moving into section 2.
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah,
The one I have was the one we talked about last meeting.
Give us a number.
It is section 2.7 for training.
2.7.
2.7 training certification and education. Yes, what you're
We were talking about how that we should be paying for their classes, tests, and if they fail, that we should pay for their tests as well. I feel paying for their classes, we should. And in the test, the first test, I feel we should pay for it. The second test, if they fail it, it should come out of their pocket. But if they end up passing it, then we should reimburse them.
If they take the test and we pay for it,
The first
and
one, if
they
they fail
it,
the next one, when
then
they retake it, it should come out of their pocket. But then if they pass it, we could reimburse them for that test.
no. Then we're paying for it twice. Then we paid for them to fail, and we're paying for it again for them to pass it. Now we're paying twice. That wouldn't work.
I think standard practice is normally we, as a, even in private sector, the organization would normally pay for classes or training to be certified or take your test. They would normally pay for that test, but if the employee fails that test, then the employee would be on the hook to pay for the subsequent test to pass. And if it's 3 or 4 or 5 times, they would be paying for the subsequent tests.
So can I just wanna make it clear that we aren't changing any practices right now. We're just making sure that what the district's current practice is in writing. So we can talk about these changes about how we're gonna pay for the test once we get to negotiations with the union. But I don't wanna change anything that, as long as, and I'm gonna leave it to staff to tell me how it works, but as long as 2.7 accurately shows what you guys are doing today, then I don't think we need to touch it.
Okay, so what it accurately shows is that we do both.
Right, so, and I think that's what Kelly and Tamara and Rob all
Well,
confirmed.
that's a joke to me. So anyway, that's just my comment. Did you have any other proposals for chapter 2?
Not for two.
Director Calvin's.
My Kelly comments was also about the training, but we're trying to stick with existing practices and then at a later point we can discuss future.
And I'm sorry.
No, please.
Well, I was just thinking back from our discussion that we had the first time around on this, and it was that what was being said was that the more training we can give an employee, the greater the asset they are to the district. But at some point, it's got to make sense, because if I come in, let's just say we're a fire department, and I come in and I join the fire department as a volunteer, and I'm finish my probation, firefighter 1, and I go to the boss and say, hey, I want to become a prevention officer, send me to school. I don't see how that would fly. It benefits the district to have one more person with the knowledge, but I just don't. Everybody on the department might want to be a prevention officer, and then you don't have any firefighter 1s anymore. You just got a bunch of little badges running around.
Well, they're all still firefighter 1s.
Right. Well,
Just
but
like have more training.
do you understand what I'm saying? Though that would be terribly expensive, and you can't. If you allow one person, then you have to allow anybody that has that same request. You can't pick and choose what benefits you're going to give to one individual and not to another. Everybody has to be treated equally. And that's where I would find a problem with that.
So if I may suggest, maybe an alternative way of looking at that, is that if we were to establish something that's considered part of the benefits of the job, what we would call professional development. In other words, there would be a certain amount of money set aside for all district employees that can be utilized for professional development. And through the general manager or managers, that can be set up so that employees can go to classes, go to trainings to make them more knowledgeable in whatever job it is that they're doing.
But it's gotta be based on the job they're doing, not.
Yeah, it has to be
You
relevant.
can't do it for,
It has
you
to
can't
be
do it for
relevant.
upward mobility though, because now you're grooming somebody.
Well, but you're increasing
You
their
can't do that in
knowledge
public
base,
employment.
which would be a benefit to the district.
I find myself challenged on this one.
I see your example, but I think in any of the positions that we currently have here, whether it be water, wastewater, fire, that if there's a need for it, for instance, you use fire and prevention. And some of these classes come with different specialties with a level of knowledge. We wouldn't send someone through a whole series just for the purpose of doing it without a need. So some of those have needs. So it doesn't benefit us at a cost level if we have that position filled. For instance, if he has operators, we want to promote the other guys to learn better, take those tests and everything. But if it goes into a series of tests that aren't primary function of the job, in other words, when they do their professional development and it becomes necessary for them to use those skills, he's not gonna send them to classes where those skills aren't necessary for their performance here.
Okay. That's the
So-
understanding that we have to have in writing.
Well, EMT would be something that everybody here, because we all
Right.
respond, and that would be something that, yeah, we would be inclined to promote for everybody. Prevention wouldn't necessarily be, because it's not department-wide individuals going out and doing this on
Right.
random.
That's why I think there should be some language defining that. I mean, I don't even know how it's written.
Well, currently, like in the utilities department, we have a kind of unique situation. We are one of the lower paying places in this county, which creates a huge problem in getting people. But we also have the situation where it's easy to hire people at the bottom, and you're going to train them to be what you want them to be. So when they grow up, they're gonna be operators, they're gonna be trained to the level you want them to be trained at. The issue with operator licensing is that every 2 years, you have to have either 24 or 36 hours of training to renew your license. So either that training can be in the same grade level as you are right now, or it can be in something that's more advanced. Personally, I'm all for people learning as much as possible. I'm gonna approve classes that are gonna be more advanced than where they're at. If that leads to them taking a test and getting a higher license, then that's fine. They're not getting paid for that license. They're getting paid what they're getting paid. But they're more of an asset to me to have a higher license. Does that increase the likelihood that they can get a better job somewhere else? Probably.
Yeah, but you can't work them outside of the scope of their job description, so how does their higher certification benefit you?
It doesn't necessarily directly benefit us, but if we're willing to send them to school, then that knowledge indirectly helps us. They're not getting paid for that license, but we're meeting their need for continuing
Does
education.
that make sense to anybody else?
Yeah, if they're required to have.
He's not saying
12,
required. He's saying if he can give them training that he considers a benefit to the district, then he's going to approve it.
Well, what you said was they're required to have 12 to 36 hours of training per year to keep up on their current license, right?
Right.
So if they have to go to training or these
And that has to
hours
be, that has to be
anyway,
water treatment related.
rather than the same level they're at, I would rather see them do more advanced classes.
Well, and I'm not sending them to class, I'm sending them to classes that are within the area that they need their continuing education. I'm not gonna approve classes for a water guy to be in the fire department.
Yeah, I guess
But
that-
it's good for maintaining longevity and maintaining long-term employees, because if you're able to train them up to how you want them to be trained, then you're gonna be able to make them move up and become supervisors and department heads and things
So-
like that.
Okay, so
I have a comment.
the existing language clearly defines what training would be allowed. It's, what we're hung up on is how it's getting paid for. And we already determined that we can't change that.
Right.
So
Cannot change it.
are we beating this up for nothing?
Yes.
It needs a tune-up, but I don't think that we're not doing anything too crazy right now, different than what it says.
I'm fine with the way it's written.
I have a question. Mr. Dodge, you say if a person that gets a higher grade, they don't get more, anything out of it, benefit-wise. I thought originally, maybe when I was first on this board, that there used to be a bonus for your grade levels.
When I first started here, the general practice was to give you like 2% if you were able to get a grade more than you needed.
Right.
In subsequent compensation plans, that was removed.
Okay.
So currently, you only get paid within your job class, you don't get paid anything outside your job class.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, that will come back for review
Okay.
and hopefully modification, but that's not part of
So,
it.
you have anything else?
I have something else on chapter 2, but the other thing I just want to bring up, I have no problems with paying for future classes or who to learn more, just if they learn all that stuff and then they go to a different agency and we're out the several thousands to train them. That was my only sticking point.
John, the other thing I wanna say, because other organizations, in that training, and it may be an issue that can be bargained in the future, that a set of classes that are mandatory to your performance are categorized. So these classes are the ones you should take that we recognize. Once you satisfy that group of classes, then you move on to maybe classes that would help promote you in your line of work. And then if you satisfy those, then maybe there's a set of classes. In other words, they get,
Okay, well, that's,
Farm.
again, that's a negotiable thing. That's not
Exactly.
something we can change. So, does anybody else have anything on item 2?
Yes, actually, I don't know, maybe I missed it.
What's the number?
No, actually, that's the thing. Do we have any policies regarding, an employee that has multiple jobs in the district?
Yes.
Okay.
Outside employment, that's 2.8.
Okay, so 2.8, so that would also include, water, treatment operators who also work as on-call
That's
firefighters,
right.
right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was what that was for.
Do you have anything? Section 2?
2.12,
Backing up.
Oops, too far, sorry.
okay, we're talking about regular part-time employees, and it's essentially stating anyone that's working less than 40 hours a week would be qualified as part-time. But the state of California qualifies people that work 25 or less hours a week as part-time.
So we talked about that because that's an ACA issue. So that's if they're qualified for healthcare benefits or not under California law. So we can change that if the district is going to do that.
The committee thought that it was best to move away from that, the 25, as I recall, that's why it's 40. The benefits thing.
Okay, all right.
Anything else?
No. There's some time.
Yeah, starting with 2.1, basically I want to replace the whole thing, and I have some language that I can read to you if you'd like.
Go ahead.
2.1, employment status. Status refers to the condition of an employee's appointment, such as probationary, regular, or temporary. Changes in status may result from reinstatement, transfer, promotion, demotion, or suspension. Status is described as follows. Probationary employees, a new employee, former employee who is rehired, or a promoted employee serving a probationary period set forth in section 233 of this manual. Regular employee, an employee who successfully completes the probationary period, including any extension thereof. Full-time, an employee regularly scheduled to work 40 hours per week. Full-time employees may be probationary, regular, or temporary. Part-time, an employee regularly scheduled to work less than 40 hours, but at least 20 hours per week. Part-time employees may be probationary, regular, or temporary. Temporary employee, an employee hired to work on a special assignment or other non-permanent basis with the understanding that the temporary employment will not exceed 1 year. Temporary employees do not become regular employees as a result of the passage of time and may be terminated for any reason without notice or appeal. Casual employee, an employee hired to work on a sporadic basis for a few hours or days at a time. Casual employees do not become regular employees as a result of passage of time and may be terminated for any reason without notice or appeal. Exempt, non-exempt employees. Exempt or non-exempt status of employment is determined pursuant to state and federal law. Employees will be informed of their exempt, non-exempt status when they are offered the job. Exempt employees, by definition, are exempt from earning overtime compensation. And this other one, I don't know if it really applies. Project employee, an employee hired to work in connection with a specific project of limited duration, with the understanding that the employment is for a limited term, which usually will not exceed 2 years, but will be in excess of 6 months. Project employees do not become regular employees as a result of passage of time, may be terminated for any reason without notice or appeal. So I guess project employee to me would apply to something like when we had to do all that data
Yeah,
reformatting for the rate study.
essentially it's a temp.
But it's defined here. Everything's defined here and it's pretty clear. There's no ambiguity.
So I don't wanna add classifications of employment status or, we can reorganize the ones that exist, but for me, project and casual employee would just fall under the temporary status, so if we want to make them more concise, I'm okay with that. The one thing we do need to add in your